Suma's POV. The meeting went on for some time. The Queen brought in generals to discuss the updates from our mission on the island, and to hear what Jake had to say about the Chaos Dragon. He spent hours answering questions. In the end, however, nothing was really decided, and they needed time to prepare. At some point, one of the generals suggested bringing in an expert on the Chaos Dragon and the Ravaging, but that idea was dismissed. It was determined that Jake was most likely now the land's greatest expert on the dragon, so others would only complicate matters, and they wanted to keep what was happening a secret for now. The meeting about how to keep the dragon sealed away went late into the night. Captain Giguales must have seen how exhausted he and I were getting, because he eventually requested that the meeting be put on hold until tomorrow. We bid Her Majesty farewell, and she was escorted out by her guards. Our squadron members were escorted out soon after and told to return tomorrow at noon. The captain and lieutenant flew to their rooms, leaving Jake and I alone outside the entrance of the castle. It was in that moment that the events of the last few hours suddenly began to truly set in. "Jake," I said, half stunned. "Yeah?" he asked, summoning Chariot, his flying magic tool. "You and I meet the Queen and her guards a lot lately, do we not?" Yes." "You cast a spell that affected the Queen." "Uh-huh." "All of her royal guards attacked you for a long time." "I remember," he said, nodding his head and sitting on Chariot as if I had not just said the impossible, as if it were not a minor miracle that we are not still smouldering piles of ashes, let alone that we are both alive. "You cast that spell, both of them, faster than I have ever seen you do so before. How?" I asked. "I could cast like that before, just not in this lifetime." "Jake, or do I still call you Jake?" Yeah. I haven't chosen a new name yet, so still Jake for now." "Why this sudden change? I know you said something about an old friend, a dragon, but I do not understand." "And in the meeting, you talked about Zachariah as if he were you," I said, confused. "Needhogg was like me. He had lived as multiple people and had his soul merged so many times that I wonder if he even knew the number. He told me that having something definite to call myself would help. As for the other stuff, I don't feel like Zachariah or Jake. Neither name feels right anymore, not really, but I do feel like I was them," he explained. I did not really understand what he meant and was concerned for him, but I let the matter roost there, and we flew back to our room for the night. The flight was silent. Neither one of us spoke. I was too preoccupied worrying about Jake and what he was going through, and I assume he was deep in thought about it as well. Once we landed, however, Jake asked another question, perhaps to break the tense silence, or perhaps it was simple curiosity. "Do you think Seal is still awake? I wanted to talk with him soon, but the meeting went longer than I expected." "The sun only recently set, but he is older. He may have fallen asleep." I rested on Jake's shoulder as he walked us into the building. "What did you wish to ask him?" "I wanted help making a weapon." "Do you not have enough already?" I asked. "This one is special. It's one I designed with Amboss during Daedrus' rampage for killing familiars." "What? A weapon designed by Amboss? What is it?" I asked, shocked. "An axe. Well, more accurately, it's a spell that I want to put on an axe. One that prevents healing magic from working." "Can you not already do that with your chaos magic? Why do you need to attach it to a weapon?" I wondered. "This one is meant to fight Daedra. Normally I could just infuse my mana into someone, and then when they cast a healing spell it turns into death magic. But he's a chaos magic user too, so he can invert the spell and produce the intended effect." "Then how does the axe work, if not using chaos magic?" "It doesn't. At least not how it was originally designed. The spell we worked out probably wouldn't have been enough. But now I know about cells and how they function, I can work directly on them by—" "Oh, here we are," Jake said, just as we arrived at the room, cutting his explanation off. I opened the wall with a spell, and immediately heard the sounds of laughter. There, perched somewhere near one of the roots, were my mother, Luna, and Seal laughing loudly. "Oh, Suma, Jake," Mum said. "You are safe." She spread her wings and I mine. We flew closer to one another and placed our heads together. "I am so relieved." "It is good to see you two are home," Seal said, looking between us. "It's good to be back," Jake said. "I hope you weren't interrupting something." My mum's feathers ruffled slightly, embarrassed. No, not at all. We were simply talking. Jake's eyes caught mine. We may have been different species, but I think he could understand what he was seeing just as well as I did. Then he made a face. While our connection only allowed us to project our thoughts, and only he could read my emotions, in that moment I knew exactly what was going through his mind, because he told me. We definitely interrupted, he said, for our private connection. Indeed, we should take our leave, I replied. Mother certainly should have hardened the walls to prevent this. Everyone knows that. Jake chuckled. Well, pardon us. We forgot to get something to eat. We'll give you a bit of space for a bit. No, please stay. How did your journey go? Are you injured? Mum asked. Jake! Your limb! Neil nearly shouted, finally noticing Jake's hand. What? Mum wondered, then saw Jake's newly regrown hand. Oh! Yeah, it grew back on the island, Jake said. Island? Seal asked. I suddenly remembered we had not told them where we were going, as it was a secret, and we still could not tell them. Our group was sent to an island, that is all we may say, I said. Well, seeing this, your journey must have gone well then, Mum asked. It had its ups and downs, Jake replied. Saw some old friends, got my hand back, learned a few things. So yeah, it went pretty well. I do not wish to ever go on a sea flyer again, however, I stated flatly, remembering the violent back and forth waves, the horrible sickness, Nine's incessant moans, and worst of all, the fish Jake made me eat. Hey, Seal, do you have a minute? I had something I wanted to discuss, Jake said. Oh, an idea for a new creation? He asked, his feathers perking up a bit. You know it. It is about time for me to go home. Fly home with me and tell me on the way, Seal said, and told my mother farewell. They left, already talking about whatever an axe was. I am sorry for interrupting, but you know you should harden the walls if you want, I said, but she cut my joke off. None of that. You know very well that was not what was happening, she snapped. We were only talking about our lives. You two do seem closer than when we left, I pointed out. Ah, yes, I suppose we are. He is a good listener. About? I asked. Your father and everything, she said. He went through this as well, and was offering some advice. I did not know Seal was married. No, not married, but his son's mother and Seal were together for quite some time. What happened? Time? Over a long while they simply became different Nume than they were when they met, and the winds of life carried them apart. Not every couple that chooses to stay together ends up splitting like your father and I did. Sometimes they simply drift away slowly, and one day you realize they left and will not return. It was quiet for a moment, and I thought, it had been a long time since I saw my mother as happy as when Jake and I walked in. Not just since she and my father's relationship ended, but before that. In fact, I may never have seen her so effortlessly joyful. Her bismears shined brighter in one moment than they had my entire life. I am happy you have found a good friend, then, I said, teasing the word friend. She scoffed and shook her head. We talked a while longer, and I fell asleep before Jake returned from Seals. But before I did, all I could think about was what my mother had said, about people changing over time, and wondered if that was happening to Jake. I could only hope the two of us did not suffer the same fate as Seal or Mum.